When Cyberpunk 2077 launched, it was rightfully criticized for a variety of reasons. The game was plainly unfinished. Bugs were numerous, and some of them were game-breaking. The game launched without promised features. Skill trees seemed to be poorly thought out. The life paths had little impact on the story beyond opening up additional dialogue options, and the performance on last-gen consoles was so bad that PlayStation actually pulled the game from the store and issued refunds. Those are just the problems I was able to name off the top of my head, and I am sure there are others. These are some of the things that people criticized the game for. My problems with the game are rather different, though. Close to release, some gameplay leaked, and I was able to watch it. It was this gameplay footage from the opening act that convinced me to pre-order it, which is something I almost never do with games. But I liked what I had seen, and I was confident CDPR would deliver an amazing experience. I bought it, played it, and really enjoyed the opening sequence. Visually, it was impressive, and the story and action were exciting. It was only after I was turned loose to follow the main path or do side quests that I began to feel something was wrong. A lot about the game was familiar since I had previously played Witcher 3, but I felt the game was lacking the magic of the previous game, Witcher 3. The biggest disappointment for me was the side content. As far as I can remember, just about all of the side quests in Witcher 3 were well thought out and unique. Each one was interesting, and many of the side stories were character-driven and even emotional. In contrast, much of the side content in Cyberpunk seemed to be run-of-the-mill. Go kill this, get money. Take this thing from point A to point B, get money. What happened? One could probably argue that the stories were in the data shards retrieved at the end of each quest. But if I want to read, I'll open a book. I play a game to experience it, not read it. The second problem I had with the game was the lack of adult content. Yes, seriously. Sure, we have the R-rated language and gratuitous violence, but what about the sex and nudity? Witcher 3 took place outside, yet there are so many topless female characters in that game compared to Cyberpunk. Witcher 3 had 3 brothels. Various NPCs were topless, just doing the side content and main quest. Cyberpunk? No strip clubs, no clubs of any kind, really. Most dancers you see are wearing a baffling amount of clothes for a game that takes place in a city obsessed with sex. There are 4 prostitutes available, 2 male and 1 female, and the supposed high-class prostitute isn't even topless during the sex scene. Seriously. Huh? Oh, but there are lots of dildos, lots of suggestion, lots of teasing and innuendo. It's almost like a whole lot of women worked on this game, and they accidentally, or more likely purposely, forgot that men are visually oriented and like to see things. I've been holding out hope that CDPR would add more sexually oriented content to the game over time, especially since an early trailer showed V having just done a one-night stand at her apartment. Sex was literally in the marketing. The third problem I had with the game was the city itself. With Witcher 3, I never felt that I lacked for interesting things to discover and do. As my playthrough of Cyberpunk progressed, I began to realize that although the city looked absolutely fantastic, it was little more than fancy window dressing meant to disguise a dead world devoid of activity outside of the main quest or side quests. Almost every building was locked, and try as I might, I could find little to do that was actually interesting. Almost 3 years ago, I played through Cyberpunk 2077 almost to the end, right up to the point I meet Hanako at Embers, and then I stopped. The mounting disappointment I had been feeling finally caught up to me, and I just didn't have the heart to finish the game. Years later, my misgivings remain, but I have had time to come to terms with them and to think things over. By all accounts, after nearly 3 additional years of development, the game is now really good and pretty polished, and the Phantom Liberty expansion is getting great reviews from just about everybody. The old CDPR is dead. I will treat future games coming from them with great caution. They are now an ESG company, and everything they do is subject to extreme scrutiny. I will give Cyberpunk 2077 a second chance. now that development and DLC are complete, but I will need to adjust my expectations to take into account what the game is and not what I want it to be. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.